Well, it's that time. Denise Richard, season 1, episode 4, gossip dump and recap. Before you guys forget, like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. So do you guys remember the story just like 2 recaps ago of Heather Locklear kind of being pissed at Denise Richards for stealing her husband, basically, even though their marriage was on the rocks and Denise Richards' marriage was on the rocks with Sheen. But they were like friends and they like double dated and stuff. And so Heather was kind of pissed when Denise started dating Sambora, no matter how bad their relationship was at the time. And they definitely started dating before Denise and Charlie got divorced and vice versa. Okay, so it was scandalous AF. And Heather definitely feels like something was off with that whole thing, okay, for sure. And so now we jump forward, and Denise Richards is living next to Nicolette Sheridan as her neighbor. And Aaron Vipers starts having an interest in Denise Richards. And that happens before his divorce is filed with Nicolette Sheridan. So, I think they started flirting with each other or something, maybe even doing more than that before him and Nicolette were totally donezo. And Denise Richards and Aaron start to get together, and then they wait until the divorce is finalized and they immediately get married. But what's crazy is Denise Richards was their neighbor. So she literally stole her neighbor's man. This woman, I do not have your man around Denise Richards is the lesson of the story here. And it was a very strange relationship because they married in secret. They both left with their property. They ended up parting ways after only 6 months after being married. And nobody really knows how long they dated before then. So kind of a strange, Aaron Vipers moment. Now, another fun thing is that Nicolette Sheridan dated Lisa Rinna's husband, Harry Hamlin, and she also was rumored to be casting for Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, but never pulled the trigger. Yeah, in a funny small world. So we start off Only Pans, it's called, watching Denise Richards trying to cook Italian noodles with very expensive Italian flour, and she's not very good at it. And that's kind of whatever, but there it is. And Aaron's trying to help her, and then he leaves and does something else. Then we see Sami and her driving in a Corvette, which was surprising. That is such a non-LA car, a Corvette, but that's what she was driving. And she was doing stick shift, and the daughters were like, why don't you have a modern car? Without the stick shift, in other words. And she was like, I've always driven them since I was young. And also the girls don't drive her car because they don't know how. And so we watch this scene happen as it appears Denise Richards wants to take her daughter to get her nose done. Sami says the reason she doesn't like her nose is it's not nice from the side or it's too strong. It actually makes no sense. Her nose is gorgeous. I'm really confused by that. But you guys always tell me in the comments that I'm overreacting about my looks, so who am I to talk? Anyway, Sami is convinced that she is getting this nose job. She said that the kids at school used to make fun of her, saying she looked like her dad, Charlie Sheen. I feel like some of this has to not be real because, I just am trying to imagine kids actually saying that to her. It's just strange, you know what I mean? There's a million other things to say about Charlie Sheen to, put her down as a teenager. Her nose isn't one of them. So anyway, but whatever, they make this a theme. It's part of the show. It's all on point. So we're going off to the doctor to check out nose jobs. Wonder if she's going to Kyle's nose job guy. So here's Sami post-operation with her nose job, and I'm going to show you the final results. She also got her boobs done the same year as her nose. Let me first, though, show you what she looked like before, just to remind you. Okay, so here's Sami's before, which to me, it looks like a perfect nose, but I guess it wasn't perfect enough. Here's another angle of Sami's nose before. Again, it's a pretty nose. It's very elegant. But then she changes it to look like this. So here we go, look. So she makes it almost like, I don't know, cutesy. It's cutesy nose now, see? Versus elegant. I don't know, I mean, this is like a taste thing, really. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the other examples on this doctor's site are People who like really do need a nose job. They have like a strange downward nose, or they have bumps on their nose that are really like weird looking from the side. I mean, okay, I get that. But Sami looked like a perfect nose, like perfect nose A or perfect nose B. I don't know. Growing up in LA is a bitch. So she used Deepak Dugar, who's like Beverly Hills rhinoplasty. He charges about $22,000 for a nose job. You know, I looked at his reviews. I wanted to see, what are we talking about with this guy? His nose jobs are nice. There were a lot of people who really liked his work, but they did mention in some cases that they felt that from the initial consultation to the actual day of surgery, his demeanor changed and he was a little bit cold on the day, and they didn't expect that. Some other people felt like his bedside manner in the whole process could have been improved. And like, you know, basically just making sure people understand what they're going in for, what's happening after, what, you know, listening to them if they're scared or they have concerns. He seemed to have a few complaints in that department. So, you know, that was it. But then there were quite a lot of people said, best nose job ever, you know, great. I love him, you know, so there it is. I guess it's always a mixed bag in that industry. So I wanted to hear the story about Eloise because they bring her up on the show. And it was very interesting. After Charlie Sheen and Denise Richards broke up, Denise wanted more children because she said she just loved being a mother more than anything in the world, and she just wasn't done yet. She was like, I want to have more kids and I can do it alone. So she adopted Eloise, and then she learned, as we hear on Denise Richard's Wild Things, that she had, you know, delays in her development in crawling and walking and speaking. And Denise started to realize there was something wrong. And then they found out that she had this rare missing gene. Let me read it to you. Monosomy 8p is a rare genetic disorder where a portion of the short arm P of chromosome 8 is missing. It's caused by de novo deletion, meaning it occurs spontaneously during embryonic development, and in rare cases it can be inherited from a parent who carries a balanced translocation involving chromosome 8. So this is what happened to Eloise. Here's Eloise all done up for Bravo. The thing is that Denise Richards, in one way here, I really respect. She threw herself into helping Eloise in every way possible. Now, when Denise Richards adopted Eloise, she was in a completely different financial situation. Charlie Sheen had given her a huge ass mansion and was paying loads of child support. I mean, and he was making so much money, like ridiculous amounts of money. And he was beginning the, unraveling of his career with drugs and partying, but it hadn't happened yet, like in the way that it implodes later. And so Denise was like in a rock solid situation. Over time, Denise Richards' situation loses its rock solidness, and she still really did everything she could to prioritize Eloise's disability by getting her, homeschooling teachers that knew special ed so that she wouldn't be made fun of in school, because I guess they did send her and the kids did make fun of her at times. And Aaron Vipers, to his credit, although there's, some negative things out there about him, he adopted Eloise, which says a lot about him and also taking on that responsibility. So I just wanted to say, with the negatives, there is one big positive, which is Eloise. Now, her sisters, Lola and Sami, get along well with Eloise. Some kids with this disorder have behavioral issues, but Eloise doesn't seem to. She seems to just kind of go with the flow and laugh. She doesn't speak. She only whispers a few words. They're hoping one day she will. She does seem to take in information, and then she can't necessarily duplicate it on command, but she knows it. So like all of a sudden, something she's learned that she can't do on command, like she'll just start doing when she feels like it. So it's just the computer's running a little bit different. And it's very interesting. I've always been fascinated by the brain. My mom died from a brain injury because of a car accident after being in a coma for 2 years when I was very young. And ever since then, I've been obsessed with studying the brain. So I found this really interesting, even though it was a chromosome issue, how it impacted her thought process. But yeah, so anyway, they said one of her best characteristics is Eloise is super honest, and I like that too. So then we see Denise Richards getting almost naked with a bunch of pans to launch her cooking show called Only Pans after her OnlyFans, and she does this to be sensationalized because she was known as a sex symbol, and that's how people really like to see her. So she's kind of like, how else do I get attention for this thing? So she does that shoot, and I wanted to look at her OnlyFans revenue, just try to see what that was all about. Supposedly, she makes $2 million a month, but I just don't believe it based on her lifestyle. So I'm going to say that she probably does, I don't know, maybe 30,000, 40,000 a month. I think that's probably even a stretch, but I see people all the time exaggerating their income out in the influencer land. It's really hard to know what's real or not, but we get why she's so invested in OnlyFans if she's even making 20,000 a month, right? So you know why Charlie Sheen quit alcohol? It was because of his daughter, one of them. He never said which one. But he used to drink scotch in the mornings, like, 4 or 5. And he was supposed to drive his daughter to some important thing that was like, she really needed him to do it for her. And he forgot and he drank. And when she came down ready to go, he looked at her and he couldn't drive. So he had to call a friend of his to rush over and drive both him and her to this appointment. And she was upset because it was an important interview for her, and there she is in the back seat, and she's wondering why her dad isn't driving and why a friend had to be called over last minute, and she probably sort of figured it out. And he was so ashamed of himself that he couldn't be a father and that he committed to his daughter and he let her down so horrifically that that was the turning point for him. That's what his rock bottom was. And he also, I forgot to mention this in yesterday's video, Charlie Sheen also took care of Brooke Mueller's kids for many years as a sole parent himself. He's kind of a mixed bag himself, Charlie. He's not paid child support and then paid child support. And he's, he had a domestic violence situation with Brooke Mueller when they were both high. So sober Charlie is great, right? But drunk, drug addict Charlie is a monster. I should add that Denise Richard's dogs are still shitting all over the place, and Lola was cleaning it up for Denise while she was out. So next week we have Kathy Hilton on, and I will use that as a way to kind of spill some tea. And we have some other girl on, and I'll look into her too. All right, you guys, this was a fun one. Okay, like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Big kiss.